for us the overall workflow on the project, the workflow for making the videos.
Great. Yeah, Felice and I worked very closely together on this, and it took us a little while to figure out how we would best work together. But what evolved was a system where Felice would assemble the photographs. It's usually photographs that she wants to talk about that demonstrate some point in the course. If she's talking about lighting or composition or a particular challenge that she faced in photographing something, she would assemble the photographs she wanted to use, and then she would just record herself talking about it. She worked best not by writing out a script first, but by just sort of speaking spontaneously as though she was giving a lecture in person. So she would record it, and I would put together a very, very rough draft. She and I would review it, and she would make revisions.
So a rough draft of the video.
Yeah, exactly. But the original rough drafts are pretty static, actually, because it was frequently just a photograph and then Felice talking about that photograph for a couple of minutes sometimes.
Right, just to get the sequence down, right?
Yes, right. Just to make sure that we're covering what she wanted to cover and that I had all of the assets she wanted to talk about.
Right.
That's important too.
Yeah. And to get some sense of the total length, right? How long is this going to be, and do we need to tighten it up in places?
Yes, and we definitely did that. We definitely edited and whittled down and threw out entire segments. A lot of editing happened.
Right.
During that whole process, there would be portions where I might listen to her voiceover and suggest, this part where you go off and talk about how the camera works or something, maybe that could be illustrated with this drawing. Something
I see.
Like that.
Yeah, so you'd suggest.
Yeah, I might suggest something, and she would very liberally tell me no sometimes. If she doesn't like the idea, she will definitely say, no, I don't like that. But if she did like the idea, then we'd go forward and, work with it some more and see how it developed.
Yeah. It seems like a good process. It's like an audio storyboard.
Yeah. And, one of the challenges here was that it ran the risk of just being a slideshow.
Yeah.
It could have been just picture, talk,
exactly.
talk.
Yeah.
But she thought it was important, and I, of course, thought it would be more compelling to watch if we added some movement in there.
Yeah. And some text to come in occasionally, or
sometimes we did incorporate text. Sometimes I would start manipulating the photograph in a certain way to maybe just explore the nice detail in a photograph, or if she was trying to point out something specific, I might move the photograph around to whatever she was trying to highlight.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, good. So how long did it take to, say, build one of these video tutorials, just on average?
This represents so many hours of my life.
Yes, I believe it.
I'd say a rough estimate to do a first pass where Felice was giving me photographs and audio and matching it together and kind of editing it into a rough flow. I'd say it's about 1 minute of video took about an hour's worth of work to get the layout to some degree of finished, a first draft status. And then usually Felice and I would spend a long time reviewing each one. She would give me notes about what she wanted to change.
Iterating.
Yeah, so each video is a little bit different. Some of them were pretty quick. We were able to put it together and she was happy with it fairly quickly. Others we revise, edit, cut everything out, put it all back in.
Right. Yeah, well, it's that getting it right, that's so important. Yeah.
Felice was, to her credit, Felice was very committed to getting it right.
Yeah. It felt that way throughout the whole course, really. That attention to detail and making sure that everything, and because it was a course about visualizing, it was important that everything looked good, so.
Yes. Yeah.
So what were the most challenging aspects of the work for you, Natasha?
Well, I think part of the challenge was developing the workflow, sort of deciding how Felice and I would communicate. We actually spent a long time, a formative period, just sort of building the style guide, as it were. Deciding on what's the branding of this thing.
Yeah.
Do you want arrows or lines or
should that always be orange? Should it always say how to? All that.
Yeah. And so for every element, every visual element of this course that you see, there was probably 20 alternate design ideas that Felice said no to. So
yeah. Interesting.
So that was a challenge, just to figure out, all right, what is my client here envisioning, and how can I help her to make that happen?
Right. Yeah. And I would imagine that the challenges and the flow kind of varied from week to week. There were 6 weeks in the course, and each week tackled a different topic, and some of them were more challenging than others, had more content in them, was more conceptual or more difficult concepts to tackle. So I would imagine you had to kind of adjust not only your workflow, but the dynamics as you moved from week to week.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Some of those weeks fell into place very organically, and some of them we really sweated over.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Took a long time with the details.
Right.
Like the week 5 content, for instance, that was actually the last component that we finished.
Right.
And it really was very intricate. Felice took a long time to think about what she exactly wanted it to say.
Yeah, makes sense. Right.
Yeah.